Good afternoon, good morning for folks on the West Coast. My name is Steve Cangiano. I'm a product manager at CMiC. I'll give you a little bit of background about the format of the presentation. We're going to do a target about 40 minutes worth of content, specifically focusing on mobile field. So I know a few of you may have seen mobile field before in the past. I'm actually recognizing a few names here on the list of the attendees. So I'm just going to assume a few of you may have never seen this application before, so I'll give you a little bit of background, and then we'll go into some of the specifics that we advertise in the agenda. We want to go through drawing management and some of the things that we've done inside of mobile field for folks that are in the field that want to manage drawings. General document control, so things like RFIs, submittals, issues, as well as some of our field tracking, things like daily journals, checklists, productivity tracking, punch lists, and also maybe spend a few minutes talking about the future of mobile field and some of the things that we're working on that you guys will be able to expect to see in future releases. So about 3 years ago, we released this application as an extension of everything that we're doing in project management within CMiC. We wanted to build a native mobile application that would run really, really well on all different types of devices. But one of the most important things that we wanted to make sure that we accomplished was that this had an offline mode. So when you run mobile field, when you first log into the application, it downloads all of your project data, of course, based on your security, but it's going to download all of your project data and actually store that information on the device. And as soon as you've synced up the project, it downloads your drawings, your RFIs, your submittals, you're able to go offline now. And you can mark up drawings, you can create daily journals, checklists, take photos, anything that you would normally do in the application, you can do so offline. And then all the information will be saved locally on the device, and then you can upload that information as soon as you connect to the internet. In fact, you don't even have to upload it, it just does that for you automatically. Every 30 seconds, the app checks to see if there's anything that it needs to sync up to CMiC, and if there is anything, it will do that for you behind the scenes. Some of the things, because you guys are all existing customers, there are some unique advantages to spinning up a mobile server and using products like mobile field. One of them is that it is CMiC behind the scenes. So when you log into the mobile field application, you're using the same username and password that you would use to get into the web interface. So there's some huge advantages there from an administration perspective. So you get this excellent mobile application with all these great features, but you don't have to go and create, 400 users for some third-party, field application. You're able to just use the existing credentials and the existing security that you've already set up for all of your users of CMiC. And just a note on security, you have full control in terms of what these people can see and do within this application. And it will play off of your existing security and project roles that you've already established. So, if you've turned off the RFI program for a specific project role or a specific security role, it's not going to be visible in the mobile app. If you do not give someone the rights to create an RFI, that user is not going to be able to see that button when they log in to mobile field. So it should be a very consistent experience from a administration/security perspective between what you're used to in the web and what you have here in the mobile tool. Now, in terms of device support, we wanted to make sure that we would be able to support as many different devices as possible. That we do have support for all the major platforms. We support iOS, Android, and Windows 10, and it runs very, very nicely on both iPhones, iPads, or I should say really phones and tablets, no matter what platform you decide to use it on. So if you want to run this on a Windows 10 laptop, as an example, it would be the same type of experience. And we're able to do so because we're writing this in such a way where we have one application that can be deployed seamlessly across all three platforms, which is really nice for the users. You guys can just pick what type of device you'd like to run this on. Now, fast forward to about a year ago, one of the most exciting things that we released in the past year or two is our drawing management solution. And drawing management has a huge impact on mobile field. Obviously drawings are not just available on mobile, you can consume them on the web, and there's a whole tool there to extract and OCR your drawings. But from a pure mobile perspective, having access to your current set of drawings is exceptionally important. So when we released drawing management, mobile field instantly got more useful because now all of the RFIs and issues and submittals and all these things that we previously had here in our menu for features, they became much more useful because they were now related to annotations on these drawings. So I'm going to spend a few minutes focusing on drawing management and what that experience is going to be like from mobile field. And I'll just kind of use this as one of the first topics we'll go through, and then I'll back into some of the other topics that I mentioned. So as you can see from this view, I have access to my entire drawing set. Like the rest of the data that I referred to before, this drawing set is downloaded automatically onto my device. By default, it downloads the most recent revision of every sheet that I have on the project. And we have tools and mechanisms that will allow you to take big PDFs and you can split them into individual sheets automatically. You can OCR them, put the links in place, and upload them to your project. We call it ECM Explorer. But the end result of taking those drawing sheets and uploading to their project is this viewer that you see here on the screen. So this is showing me my A1.00 drawing sheet, and you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, I'm currently on revision 4 that came in on ASI 800. So I'll show you some general navigation that you can use right off the bat. First thing you'll notice is that we have all these little hyperlinks for the detail and elevation callouts. So users can just tap these and it will take them to, in this case, the wall section that matches that particular floor plan on the screen. Or if the user wants to navigate past this particular drawing, they want to go into something different, they can tap the top right-hand corner of the screen where they see all the recent sheets that they just navigated to. So I can easily pop back to that floor plan, or I can scroll through my entire directory of drawing sheets and pop into any one that's on the list. So it's really easy to find the drawings you're looking for. And of course, if you had started navigating to a bunch of different sheets, you want to go back to where you started, you have that recent sheets option that'll take you back to that floor plan that we were previously on. So there's the floor plan. Now, I also have some nice gestures that I can use to navigate through the set that are really intuitive. So if I want to use my finger to swipe left or right, so if I swipe right, you'll see that it's going to pull up the next drawing sheet in the set. And if I go to the left, it's going to go back to the previous sheet. The other thing that we allow you to do is you can actually go back and look at previous revisions. So this is revision 4. If I want to go back and look at an old one, I just swipe down, and this is going to pull my old revision. Now, in this case, I don't have the previous revision downloaded on my device, so the app had to download it for me. You'll see it appear on the screen in a second or two. There it is. So, and that's the behavior of the application. So if I just downloaded this project, it's going to download revision 4 by default, and that will be available offline. If I want to go back and look at old ones, I can, but when I navigate, the app is just going to have to quickly download that previous revision sheet, so that's why it took an extra second. And you'll notice that there's no confusion that I'm on an old revision because I got a watermark that's following me as I go around the screen. And you'll notice I don't have any ability to edit this version. That button has been taken off as well because we want people to be focusing on the current revision, not any of the previous ones. So while on the current revision, what can I see? What can I do? We've already talked about some of the navigation, but you'll notice that I have a bunch of annotations that are all over the page. Now, I'm wirelessly broadcasting this to my monitor so you can see it. So the transitions and the zooming speed might not be as nice for you as it is for me looking at the screen. But you'll notice we spent a lot of time so that as the user is zooming in really quite far and is panning around the sheet, you'll see how quickly this is refreshing. So it really was an important feature for us because one of the feedback we got from users was if it's taking any longer than flipping a piece of paper or just looking closely at a drawing sheet that's printed, then people won't use it. So we wanted to make sure that people could zoom in all the way to the lowest level and just pan around the sheet without any major delays for the document to refresh. So again, we think that's going to be a really great experience for your users. Now, if you tap any one of these annotations, you'll notice that some of them might be linked to different documents within CMiC. So this one, as an example, is linked to an RFI. If I tap the RFI number, it'll take me to the RFI detail, and I can review any of the documents that might be there. Or in this case, there are other drawing sheets that relate to this RFI, so I may want to look at those as well. Now, if I go back, you'll notice that there's a lot of drawings, there's a lot of annotations on this drawing. Might be a little bit difficult for someone to read, might be difficult for someone to be able to kind of figure out what they're looking for. So what we've done is we've also added a whole bunch of filters that allow users to filter these annotations on the page. Now, it's important to remember as well, just from a structure perspective, that annotations are actually sitting as a layer on top of the PDF. This allows us to slip sheet new revisions underneath of the annotations and preserve them on top. It also allows us to do things like, turn all annotations off. So I'm looking at a nice clean drawing sheet now. Or maybe I want to narrow things down to say, only show me annotations that are linked to RFIs. So you notice that I have much fewer annotations here, and all of these link to various RFIs on the project. And what a really nice feature that we released recently is the ability for users to narrow things down to even inspection items for punch lists. So these are a bunch of punch list items that have been pinned to the drawing. And if I want to narrow it down to show me items that are currently in my court, I can select my responsibility, and you'll see a bunch of these are gone, but I just have a handful here that still are outstanding and are in my court, and I can drill into those right from the drawing sheet. So in this case, I got a photo showing me the problem. There it looks like a marked drywall, and I can see whose court this currently is in. So that's the general background in terms of how drawings are managed and how annotations are behaving within the system. And you'll see this referenced in a lot of different places. I will show you one thing that's a bit of an advanced preview for our new build that's going to be coming out in 2 weeks. It's build 2.6 of Mobile Field. We have added support to link document records to annotations in the drawing management tool. So what this means is that if you wanted to have an annotation in the corner, and I got this idea from a customer actually, where in Bluebeam they were putting a stamp in the bottom right-hand corner of one of their floor plans, and they would link approved submittals to that stamp. And then the user would click it and they would see all the approved submittals and be able to open them quickly. So we've added that same functionality here so that if somebody's linked, in this case, a spec document to the annotation, it's going to pull the document up on the screen. This is my approved product data sheet. And then if I'm finished with it, I just hit close and it opens up my drawing again, and I'm now back onto the floor plan. So a lot of really nice stuff that they built in here. You can take photos, you can pin those on the drawing as well. Those are all things that we've built over the last few months. Just in terms of filtering, you may want to know, just if you want to filter by version name, so this is the tag that goes along with all of the revisions that you might be uploading. You can also do things like filter by trade or by work package, any of those tags you may have added to the sheets. Now, why is this relevant? Why do we have this drawing management system in mobile? Why do we invest so much time here? Well, the truth is we needed to do this because of all of the relationships that are going to be in place between documents like RFIs, issues, submittals, even change orders as well, and especially punch lists are all being related to the drawing now that we have this inside of the application. So, a lot of the features that are going to be here, they're pretty straightforward. I mean, something that you've probably seen before. This is the full RFI application. So RFIs that are on your project today, as soon as you log into your project within mobile, you're going to be able to see all the RFI details, the questions, and then you can even drill down and open up some of the attachments. And you'll see I have access to all the attachments that are stored on the RFI in a very nice interface. And then if I scroll down further, some of these are even related to construction drawings. And you'll notice that we have a nice thumbnail there that shows me where that annotation is on the drawing. And then the bottom shows me what sheet this RFI is linked to. When I tap on it, it's going to open up the sheet that I need to link to, and it's going to automatically zoom me in to that annotation on the drawing sheet. So I don't start from way back here and have to figure out what annotation relates to the RFI. It's going to pull me in right here as soon as I tap it, and it's going to give me all that information that I need. So a lot of really nice improvements have been made over and will continue to be made around drawing management and the rest of the application. Now, I want to go through and talk about a couple of important workflows. Two of them are going to summarize a lot of the different points that I wanted to make. So I want to go and show you a little bit of checklists, and show you the relationship between checklists, issues, and drawings. There's a really nice workflow that we've created that I think will be good for you guys to see. Then we'll back into daily journals and then wrap up with inspections and doc management. And then I should have enough time to open it up for some general questions, and maybe can even show you some other areas that you guys might be interested in. So for checklists, this has become a very popular area of mobile field. CMiC has had checklists for a very long time. It wasn't very heavily used because it was only available on a full computer, a laptop, a PC, and that's not where checklists are filled out. Checklists are filled out in the field, and they often don't even have enough, they often don't even carry an iPad with them. Sometimes they're carrying a phone. So we needed to make sure that users could complete very big checklists, and they could do it very quickly, whether they might just have their phone with them or maybe they have their iPad. This is a big focus for us over the last couple of years. So you may be familiar with CMiC checklists or may not. This is an example of a checklist type. So you can create as many checklist types as you want within the application. I have one called Environment, Health, and Safety, EHS. And they're all customizable. Like I said, you can create these inside of the web application, and mobile field will just start displaying them on the screen. We did this recently with a partnership that we have with JE Dunn. They're actually doing some very interesting projects right now with drawing management and mobile field. As some of you may know, they use a lot of BIM 360. And they are actually looking to pivot away from that tool and go full bore drawing management and mobile field across their entire company. They're going to be going live next month. They're running it at about 25 projects right now. And so far the feedback has been great, but we needed to make sure that those BIM 360 users didn't feel like they were taking a step back. They needed to make sure they felt that the product was just as good, if not better. So we partnered with Jay Dunn about 6 months ago to do a couple of projects that were going to enhance that workflow. One of the things we did is we wanted to make sure that if someone said no and answered non-compliant or no on a checklist item, that somebody was going to be made responsible for correcting that problem. Now, this is typical on a QA/QC checklist where you're going to have a QA/QC checklist by trade, and you're going to have, typically a contractor is going to be responsible for that trade. So when you're filling out your QA/QC checklist, we might say, Jason Brooks is the contractor that will be responsible for anything that's not compliant in this checklist. So as I go down the list, I'll say, the sound, the guard screens and sound dampening devices are in place. The answer is yes. Now I may want to snap a quick photo. I know this is not a sound dampening device, but just bear with me. And one of the nice things that we added about a year ago was annotation of photos as well. So if you want to indicate that this is what I was trying to show you, you can draw some arrows around there, and it makes it really easy. Now, the next question is the fire control equipment regularly tested and certified? Let's say the answer is no. So when I hit no, you'll see that an issue gets created automatically behind the scenes. We can do that because we've indicated our default contact is Jason Brooks. So if we click on the issue that just got created, you'll see we've taken the name of the checklist, we've put that into the subject line of the issue, and then the description is the name of the checklist question. So that's, is the fire control equipment regularly tested? And by default, it's from me, responsibility to Jason. Now I have the flexibility to go and snap a couple photos here if I want to just indicate what the problem is. Same thing as before, I can annotate if I want to, but what we've also added recently is the ability to pin the drawing right from the issue screen. When we first rolled out drawing management, the workflow is typically drawing to RFI, drawing to issue, drawing to punch list item. But we also want to be able to support this workflow as well. So I was on the checklist, I created an issue, now I want to show where this issue exists in the real world. So I'll hit the pin icon, and it remembers the last drawing sheet I was working on. So it quickly opens up the correct sheet, and I'm just going to drop my pin right there on the floor plan. It quickly takes me back into the issue, and then you'll see at the bottom, now I've related that annotation on the floor plan, A2.12b, right to my issue, and I did so with 2 taps. That's just going to keep getting better because in 2.6, we're actually going to be releasing a brand new location code field, and it's going to go along with a new maintenance screen and a new table where you can create your own user-defined structure for location codes, and you'll be able to map location codes to areas of drawing sheets. So we're kind of not cheating here, but we're simulating what it's going to look like, because when I tap this icon, it just remembers the last sheet that I was on. That was kind of our phase one. Phase two is going to be actually knowing that this location code is mapped to this drawing and this area, and it will open up the drawing and zoom the user into that location so that I can drop the pin even faster. So that's going to be really nice. Now, not all projects will be creating location codes and mapping them to the drawing, but big enough ones will. And that's really going to improve the reporting side, because you'll be able to report by room, by floor, by building. You'll also be able to go through and just, again, have a nicer experience dropping those pins. So what I want to go through next is, you'll see I have my checklist. I can keep going down the list. I'm just going to save what I did so far, and that's going to take me back to my structure here. We have added a couple of features that are going to be universal across all the programs. One of them is called printing. What we call printing, it's just we've now added the ability to print. So in this case, you'll notice that I have checklist is listed here. It's a partially completed checklist, but that's fine. If I wanted to send a printed copy of my checklist with a bunch of photos embedded, and I want to send that to my boss after I did an audit, I hit the print icon. It's going to show me a drop down of all of my available checklists, and then I'm going to print it from here. So what this does is, by default, it just takes my project contact and puts it into the to field. So it's going to send an email report with, it's going to send me an email with the report attached. Now we'll go over to my email, and we should get, oh, this is, go to my work email. Just give me 1 second. Depending on how many photos I have and stuff, it might take a little longer to run. Usually it's like 30 seconds or so. I should actually double check something. Sometimes my email gets changed on the project, so to make sure that it's still my work email. Yeah, it is. Cool. Let me go back. There it is. So I had to be a little more patient. So there is the email report that I just generated. We'll open up the PDF. This is a brand new report that we're making standard with CMiC moving forward. And you'll see this is my checklist report. There's that photo that I took earlier with my notes. And you'll see some of the other answers that I've submitted. So we've tried to really do a good job with the way these reports are structured, and the fact that you can print them right from mobile field is a bonus. All right, so that was the workflow I wanted to show you that we built. And again, this was in partnership with JE Dunn, so they really helped us quite a bit with understanding what the user was looking for in that workflow. And it made the rest of the application really good, because we've added that ability to drop pins from pretty much every record. So you can do it from RFIs, you can do it from issues, you can do it from inspection items. And when you drop a pin, we're actually color coding the pins based on what document it's linked to. So amber is an RFI, blue is an issue, and we have a different color that we use for inspection items. All right, so let's go and talk about probably one of the first features that people actually used the application for in the wild, I guess. Whiting Turner was probably our first big enterprise customer that wanted to use mobile field and rolled it out in production to all their users. And what they rolled out was actually daily journals to start with. So they have all of their superintendents right now are entering daily journals within CMiC. So one of the things that we've built that's very, very popular is the ability to copy from the previous journal. I just want to check to see if this one has any manpower for me. It does. Just bear with me for 1 second, guys. I want to change one of my settings. So this guy should have manpower. Do I have manpower? I do. Perfect. So I'll copy this one. One of the nice features of the daily journal application is obviously putting the daily journals within CMiC is very important. We have a lot of customers out there that are using products like CMiC BI that allow users to trend manpower entries across a project over time. That's really easy to do now if you're putting all of this data within CMiC, and entering a daily journal can be really fast. So if I hit copy journal, I just want to copy the manpower. So I'll hit OK. And you'll notice that it actually remembers my previous selections, so I don't have to do that every time. So I'm going to copy this one. If I go to the Manpower tab, you'll see that the 2 vendors have been copied over, but my general is empty, so I'm going to populate that with some data. With the weather icon, this is going to use my zip code on the project address that's already set up on the project. And that's obviously going to point me to Savannah, because this was the Weston Savannah Harbor project that I used for Connect last year. I'm currently in Toronto, so it does use that zip code as its default. If you want, you can also switch it to GPS, and that's helpful in scenarios where maybe the zip code wasn't entered on the project, or maybe it doesn't have a zip code yet because it's a new development or what have you. Now in activity, this is where using Siri can be really helpful. So if you want to track, what the teams were doing today and you just want to jot some notes quickly, you can just tap the microphone button. Half of my expected mechanical crew showed up on the job site today, period. Was going to pour concrete footings in the parking tower, comma, but was unable to due to rain in the afternoon. Period. New line. New line. We're planning on pouring concrete tomorrow morning until late afternoon, comma. That should allow us to catch up and stay on schedule. Now, some words in here didn't translate quite as nicely, so we can go back and fix that. Allow us to catch up. Perfect. So it's not an exact science. Sometimes you got to think a little bit about what you're going to say ahead of time, but it is handy to do that because a lot of people don't like typing long messages, and this saves you having to go back to your machine. If I go over to manpower, manpower is going to allow me to enter in some hours for each of my vendors. So maybe there wasn't 5 people on the job site today, there was only 3. They did an 8-hour day. What were they doing? Installing air conditioning units on levels 1, 2, and 3. We'll save that. We'll go into Ace Supply. Ace Supply had a smaller crew in today as well. They did a 9-hour day installing safety fence around the perimeter of the project. Cool, so I entered my manpower, and of course I'm pulling up my list of project partners. This is another nice advantage here is, not only are you going to be able to use your existing username and passwords and security rights, all the vendors, all of the contacts, all of those records that you spent so much time entering into CMiC, that's all available from the first day you start using the application. So these are all of my project partners. These are all the project partners that I've set up for my Weston Savannah Harbor project. I don't have to maintain this list in a separate system. It's going to be here because I wrote a subcontract to Ace Supply. I sent an RFI or got an RFI from AK Air Conditioning, and I can just take advantage of that information being here already and quickly enter in the details. User-defined fields, by the way, for some of you that may have used user-defined fields on the header of the daily journal or even the detail, you'll notice I have one of these user-defined fields here, area, that are also being pulled in by the mobile app. That's something that we didn't have originally, but over time we've added support for user-defined fields in almost every program that's available in mobile field. So you'll have that same experience whether you're working on the web or you're working in on the mobile application. So let's go ahead and submit that. Now, when I submit this, as soon as a number gets generated, you'll see that the number is indicating that this is successfully synced up to the server. So if I went into the web right now, I would see this record as soon as the number shows up here on the screen. It says local, it just hasn't synced yet. So I can come back to that a little later. I want to find one that's got a few photos on it. I should have a couple that's got a decent amount of photos. Let's pull these ones in. Okay, so this one's got some photos. We'll print off a report for this one as well, so you can see what the new daily journal report looks like. Same principle, if I wanted to actually submit this, so if I wanted to indicate like a different person that I want this to go to, I can do that from here, or I can even CC some of my project contacts as well if I want to get that going. And again, once that's finished, that's going to generate an email to me with that report attached. So go ahead and close that. All right, next thing I want to show you guys is I want to go in and talk a little bit about document management. We have done a lot of work on document management over the last couple of releases, and we've even improved it further in build 2.6. So you have a brand new interface for all of your document folders. These are all the document types that you've set up inside of CMiC. So it's just going to play off of that setup. and you can drill into any one of your folders, and they'll give you a list view of those folders. You can also switch to a thumbnail view of those folders. These are a bunch of inspection photos that I've taken, and I can see that here really easily. If I want to go back, I can also search across all my documents in one shot. These are all documents across all types, and I can do keyword searches by file type. I can sort in different orders, and of course I can open up any of the PDFs that happen to be on the project. So here's an example of one of the PDFs. You guys have seen the way that we manage drawings. If it's just a normal PDF that's in one of the folders, you can always mark up that PDF, and maybe I want to just call out this particular area. Once I finish my markups and I close it, it's going to prompt me to say, hey, you made some changes to this document. What do you want to do with it? Well, I may want to save this as a new revision. So I can quickly save this as a new revision right back into CMiC. And you'll see now, there's my new revision with the previous one right behind it. So a lot of really nice tools that you can use to manage your documents within CMiC. One of the things that we see an increasing number of people do is you can actually manage fillable forms within the application. So if you have fillable forms, you can start populating any of the fillable forms right here within the screen. And if you're doing this in Bluebeam or something, you get someone to sign off on it. And then instead of saving as a new revision, you can actually save as a new document and put it into like another folder called completed forms. So we've seen a lot of people build workflows out of that. So if it's like a job site safety form, if it's a toolbox talk form, if it's SWIP reporting, you name it. If it's a fillable PDF, you can have that be stored within the project folder and then save them into a folder for like completed forms. And that's a really nice method to keep track of some of those documents that are already going to be on your project. Now, I did want to show you one thing that is pretty handy. It's been around for a little while, but I think it's worth mentioning. Let's say, for example, I have this PDF that I have, and this is sitting inside my inbox. So I have a PDF inside my inbox, and I want to save it into CMiC. So if I want to save it into CMiC, all I have to do is take this PDF that's in my Outlook program right now on my phone or my iPad, share it with Mobile Field, and you'll see it gives me a preview of the file that it sees that I want to share with the app. And I want to upload this as a new document, and I'm going to put this into my safety documents folder. And you'll see I can populate any of my user-defined fields for this document type. I'm just going to leave it as is, and it's going to save a new document right within the system. So there's a lot of really nice methods for managing documents without having to go back to CMiC, or excuse me, go back to your desk and use the web interface. You can do most of this from your phone or your iPad pretty quickly. One of the more recent applications that we've added recently is the inspections program. And the inspections program is going to continue to improve over time. We have kind of our initial release that we're getting customer feedback on right now, but it's very, very similar to issues or RFIs in that way, but these are specifically for punch list or QA/QC items. So as users drill into the records, you'll see that we're kind of using a timeline interface to show when it was created, when was it marked completed, who's currently responsible, where does this issue exist on the project. And you even notice that you have some links here to drawing sets. I don't even have to drill into this record to see those. I can do that right from the list. So if I take a look here, I've linked this inspection item to drawing A1.12b. If I hit that link, this will do the same thing as we saw in the RFIs and the issues. It'll open up the drawing and it will show me exactly where that inspection item occurred and where it needs to be resolved. So you're going to see a lot of improvements in here over time, and this is something that we're looking to improve quite a bit with that new location code that we talked about before. That location code that you can maintain now in CMiC, that will be really helpful for inspections and should make that experience even nicer than it already is. I think this was a good introduction to the application. I just want to now open it up for some general questions and see if there's any areas that you guys would like me to spend some time on that I haven't already shown.
From Shia Clark, can updates be pushed through MDMs such as Marikai?
I have not worked with Marikai personally. We officially support MDM deployments with Intune, AirWatch, and Mobile Iron. However, I think that most of those MDM companies do subscribe to the same standards that those big three companies do. So we can take a look offline and see if that would work for you. But we've had other companies that have used like Mareki and some of those other third-party companies. So I wouldn't be surprised if it would work fine without any adjustments for us. And we have lots of customers that are using Intune and AirWatch to deploy this using an MDM.
Another question coming in from Arash. Can you track hours worked on each activity?
So are you referring to activities in manpower, or are you referring to like cost codes and cost types? Because this is one mobile application as part of the suite. We have another app called Mobile Crew Time, which enters in crew time sheets within CMiC Payroll. So that would be where you're entering in like employee names, job, cost code, cost type, hours. This does have the ability to track hours for subcontractors, but it's not meant for payroll type timesheet entry, if that's what you're asking.
Rash, feel free to, oh, okay, looks like his question was answered. All right, Amber Garcia coming in. Can you add CADs to the mobile app?
So you're talking about like a DWG drawing, I think is probably the question. Our drawing management application is geared around PDFs at the time, or at this time, I should say. We do have some projects that we are a partner with Autodesk on. So we have some mechanisms to view BIM models within our browser, and we do have an item on our roadmap to be able to view those BIM models within mobile, because essentially this just allows me to put a browser up right where the content frame is, and I can show the viewer. However, we don't really have any short-term plans to do a lot of work with DWGs within CMiC. You know, again, I think the customers that are doing a lot of work with DWGs are probably doing that within within Autodesk.
Great. Serena Zhang coming in. Can you demo the crew time now?
I don't have any data prepared for crew time. It's not, so the team that I manage is primarily responsible for all of our field functionality. So that's the mobile field application, that's all of project management. You know, I'm starting to expand a little bit more into, you know, some of the other tools, but we do have another product manager, his name is Imran, that would probably be the best person to reach out to if you want to do a demonstration of that tool.
And Serena, this is Dan McLaughlin. I'll reach out to you and get that scheduled with Imran.
So there's a follow-up from Amber. I can just read a couple of these, Chris. So BIM can be viewed through mobile, not right now, Amber. That is something that's on our roadmap, and it's through a partnership with Autodesk. So Oliver's working on this partnership with Autodesk, where we're basically, if you are an Autodesk Docs customer and you've purchased the integration to CMiC, you can view the Autodesk Docs BIM viewer and 2D drawing viewer within the content frame of our project management system. And then there's some hooks to allow you to like pin an RFI to the 3D model and pin an issue to the 3D model, but that is not yet available in mobile field. That's something, you know, probably closer to 6 months out that we'd be working on. It is something that we intend to do though long term, because we think that's a big part of the future of the way people will work with these models. Can you show progress such as percentage complete through marking the drawing? It's interesting you asked that question. It's something that actually someone that I was working with from DPR brought that up in one of our previous meetings. We don't have anything formal on the roadmap right now, but this whole project of location codes is basically the foundation, if you will, for being able to do those types of markups and that type of visual indicator. I know there's a few different products out there, and some people are even just using this in Bluebeam. They're basically like visually covering a portion of the drawing to indicate percentage complete. And that's something that we're looking at doing as well, but it is a little further down the roadmap. It's not in the short term right now. We needed to get this location code stuff set and then implement that into the application and then look at that as a phase 2. Okay. Can subcontractors view drawings, markups like Bluebeam Studio? Yes, they can. So mobile follows the exact same licensing structure as the web does when it comes to collaborators. So if you've purchased a collaboration license from CMiC, you're going to be able to collaborate. Within Mobile Field for no additional cost. So as long as you have a collaboration license for the web interface, you can invite as many external collaborators as you want to collaborate within the mobile app. Now, you may have seen some demos over the last couple of years of another product that we released called CMiC Collaborate. And that's a cloud-hosted service provider that we're making available to our customers. One of the products on that cloud system is Gateway. And Gateway is designed to make it very, very seamless for you to invite your external collaborators to your project and for those collaborators to log into that project. There's some content on all of our portals if you're interested in looking at that, but that would definitely be something really nice. And we've spent time for Mobile Field to make sure that Mobile Field works really nicely with Collaborate. So when someone logs in to Collaborate through the mobile app, they just touch the project they want to go to. And even if it's on an on-premise system, it's going to know what URL to go to, and it just takes the user right into that project. So that'll be very, very helpful for external users that may want to use Mobile Field to view drawings on Mobile Field. Is any of your clients using drawings instead of PlanGrid? Good question. We're seeing some strong interest. I'd say the most recent one that I had mentioned a couple of times already, we have JE Dunn is running 25 projects right now as a pilot. They've been doing that for about a month or two now, and they are planning on going live across their entire company in about 2 weeks on drawing management. So that's super exciting for us. They had a combination of tools. They were using PlanGrid on some projects. They were using BIM 360 on others. Some custom projects are owner mandated to use Procore, so they had a combination of all three of those players, and they are standardizing whenever possible on Mobile Field for drawing management, which is really cool. And again, we are seeing a lot of customers that have like 2 or 3 year enterprise deals with PlanGrid, and those are starting to come due. A company out of Chicago, McShane Construction, is actually also looking at our tools, as a potential alternative. We do have a PlanGrid integration, and it's very important for people to understand that we are not going to stop supporting the PlanGrid integration. We're fine with people having different options. We feel that drawing management is a very compelling option, and it's great because it's within one system, and it is included in your project management license and your mobile license. So a lot of times some customers that are already using these products already own these systems, which is great. But there are going to be customers that will continue to use PlanGrid, and that's fine. And we will continue to have that integration as an option. We just want to give customers the option in terms of what tool they use. So a few more minutes. Any other general questions? I can share a little bit more of the roadmap if you're interested.
Hey, Steve, I saw one question regarding potential clashes, clash detection.
So clash detection would probably be done like in a Navisworks, I believe. It's, VDC is not an area that I know particularly well, so forgive me if I'm using some of the wrong terms. So we do have a nice project we're working on right now with Navisworks. It's like a plugin for Navisworks, but that's primarily directed more towards like the desktop user. The plans for BIM within the mobile application are still pretty early. I think as a phase 1, we'll probably just focus on getting the viewer there. And the viewer's there, and then you can show relationships between those pins on the viewer and RFIs, issues, and submittals as an example. That's most likely what you would see this year. Moving forward, we might get a little bit more sophisticated. but it's most likely not going to be much more than that this year. But again, as customers sign up and are interested in doing new and innovative things, we're very, very close to that customer group, and we definitely are interested in how they want to use the application and what we can do to make those processes a little bit nicer for them. So the next question is DocuSign integrated and working with CMiC Mobile. Right now, we cannot start a DocuSign process from mobile field. This is actually the first time that someone's asked me about that. It's not typically something that I think people would do from the, because if you think of the functions in mobile field, they're, RFIs, issues, you have access to executed subcontracts, but most of the time, those are already signed by the time the users are seeing them on the iPad. So we don't have that right now. Interested to know maybe, Serena, on how you would want to use that. It wouldn't be terribly difficult because it's really just a function in the database that we're going to call, and we can do that from a button on the mobile app. We would just need to know a little bit more about the use case and how you plan on using it.